I started in that very first role as an intern working with partners. And it become one of the critical success factors, my secret sauce, if you will, that's differentiated me as a marketer and ultimately led me to become a CMO. Is my experience in working with partners and specifically operationalizing partner relationships to drive revenue.
There are secrets out there, guys, performance marketing secrets, and knowing just one or two of them can absolutely light up your funnels. Let's go. This is the Revenue-Driven CMO. I'm your host, Chris Mechanic. Join me as I uncover the secrets of the world's most elite CMOs and marketing leaders. The Revenue-Driven CMO is sponsored by Web Mechanics, the AI-driven performance agency that makes you smarter. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of Revenue-Driven CMO. I am your main man, Chris Mechanic. Looking forward to a super duper exciting episode today. We've got an awesome guest for you. She's a marketing executive with over 26 years of experience in B2B SaaS. She's a 3-time CMO. She's had senior roles at companies like SAP, Click, and Splunk. And at Splunk, actually, she played a really pivotal role in growing their revenue from like 650 million all the way up to 2.5 billion while she was there. So just absolutely amazing track record of driving innovation and growth. And she's doing it again. She's at it again. She is now Chief Marketing Officer at Logic Monitor, which is a leader in the IT observability space, where she is running global marketing, the entire global marketing org. So super excited to speak with her, to learn from her. I think this is going to be a great episode. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Brooke Cunningham. How are you, Brooke?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. You have so many great alumni on this show, other CMOs that I've worked with before at some of the companies that I've been at that you mentioned. So I'm amongst great company. I'm super honored to be a part of it.
Indeed you are. Yeah, we've been super duper fortunate, have had some amazing guests on. So you are in good company, and I'm super excited about the topic that you wanted to share, but I'll just jump right in. I mean, you've had such an awesome career. What would you say is one of your big secrets to success?
Well, I grew up in my career. So I actually started my marketing career as a marketing intern in the late 90s.
Wow.
And it granted me an amazing opportunity. And we can talk more about marketing talent, but it's something I've become very passionate about, investing in early stage career talent, because it really paved the way for me to have this amazing career. And I started in that very first role as an intern working with partners. And it become one of the critical success factors, my secret sauce, if you will, that's differentiated me as a marketer and ultimately led me to become a CMO. Is my experience in working with partners and specifically operationalizing partner relationships to drive revenue.
Yeah, right. I think it happens sometimes where you'll have a lot of partners, but not necessarily be monetizing them. Tell us more though. When you say partners, are you talking about like referral partners, partners with other software companies, partners with platform, like what, how do you think about the partnership ecosystem?
All of the above. And in fact, it's evolved over all these years, especially, when I started my career in the late 90s, we were all on-premises software. So, early in my career, it was partners that were selling, servicing, different technology alliances, or going back to my first part of my career, we were OEMing. So I worked for Crystal, for those that are in the technology space and know it. This was a reporting product that we had as an OEM in Microsoft products. It was a great seed strategy. And then, growing through the last 20 plus years of my career, it's really evolved to different types of partners like managed service providers, all of the cloud hyperscaler partners like the AWSs and the Google Clouds and Microsoft Azures, a lot of the strategic global systems integrator relationships, And still, in addition, all of the partners that are helping sell, refer, and provide services on all the software that I've represented in all the great vendors I work for.
Yeah. So I guess what makes you so good at it, for lack of a better way to say it? Like how, so, suppose you've got two partnership minded executives, one's really successful, one's like not so successful. Like what separates the really good approach to partnerships versus the mediocre or not so good?
Oh, that's such a great question. I think much like the customer first mindset, having a partner first mindset is something that I've prided myself on bringing to the equation, and that I've seen in all the great successful folks that have worked for me and with me in my career. So really taking the mindset of how do we make value out of this relationship for both us as our vendor, as well as for the partner, and ultimately providing real customer value where the value of both solutions together is incrementally greater. For the 1+1 is greater than 2 kind of equation.
Yeah.
And then I think there's an element of liking challenges and being creative and solving challenges. There's a lot of sort of seeing what's possible, particularly when you're forging relationships from the early stage where you're really creating that joint value proposition, a joint solution or offering, and then bringing it to market. And it can be so impactful. I mean, I've been part of, building cloud hyperscaler relationships at Splunk, for example, with AWS, from literally the beginning to booking hundreds of millions in ARR for the company. So
Wow.
it can be rewarding when that flywheel starts to really kick in. And in my experience, you referenced some of the stages of growth that I've been through, and that's really what my sweet spot is coming into an organization at a few hundred million in ARR, and then building it to larger scale, $1 billion, $2 billion, and beyond. And a lot of that is that these partnerships, when you really operationalize them well, can really supercharge that growth at scale.
Hey, exclusive for listeners of this podcast, Web Mechanics will do 10 to 20 hours of work for you for free. Literally no sales calls, no BS. Just give them a problem and they will put a team to work for you for free for 10 to 20 hours, even if you're already a client. If you're struggling with demand gen, lead gen, SEO, SEM, Google ads, LinkedIn ads, conversion optimization, if you can't get Facebook or Meta ads to work for the life of you, or you can't figure out attribution, Web Mechanics will take a good hard look at whatever problem you give them, whatever programs you put in front of them, and they will give you an objective, informed opinion, plus some advice from 10 to 20 hours of senior level attention. So I would suggest take them up on this offer. It's ridiculous. Go to revenue-drivencmo.com/free, fill out the 2-minute form, and you will not regret it. Literally zero downside, unlimited potential for growth. So do yourself a favor, revenue-drivencmo.com/free, no hyphens, no punctuations. You will be happy about that decision. Yeah, no, I mean, I know it. I've seen it happen. We personally fall into, and by we, I mean Web Mechanics, right? The agency. We fall into the camp of have many partners, get deals from time to time, get business from time to time, probably don't invest a ton of resources into it, and it's just sort of there. I want to know what the anatomy of like a hyper successful partnership looks like. Could you tell us the Splunk AWS story? Just like, how did it start? What did it look like? What did it sound like? How did it progress? And at what point did it like really just start becoming a windfall for you?
Yeah, so for that particular story, and I liken it to other partnerships that I've been involved in that have been super successful. There's really a commitment to the joint initiatives, creating a successful partnership that goes up and down the organization.
Yeah.
And so from the perspective of AWS, this was early in the stage of AWS having marketplaces and selling other software through their marketplaces. And they were really early on in creating a lot of the programs that many software vendors know very well now. Some of their marketplace offers, they have a variety of things that were really early on at that stage. And we committed to being an early entrant with them. And so we were willing to be part of building, and we put the resources on both sides. So some of what typically, in my experience, helps ensure there's commitment, ensuring success, I should say, is that there's commitment from both sides. So there was commitment that we were going to time and resources against it, and that there were some joint marketing dollars that we were going to commit, and that we also ensured that there was tracking ability so that we could really show the results of what we were driving. And having the executive commitment, the teams involved, and then putting the dollars in, we were able to build specifically joint solution offering. We got the Splunk offerings on the AWS marketplace. And then we started taking advantage of a lot of incentive programs that they had for the customers that then really took away some of the budgetary objections, because there were a lot of incentive programs for transacting through the marketplace. So that really started the flywheel going. And then with time, we were able to showcase some great joint wins. So we started telling the customer story, which of course then kind of the virtuous cycle, once you have great customer stories that kind of help you then get to the next step. And we really focused around some of the vertical use cases that we were jointly working on together and showcasing those customer stories. And then ultimately, it just started elevating the partnership and the opportunity, and it spread across different use cases in the Splunk portfolio. And then AWS also started expanding some of their programs to bring in the channel partners. And time, the channel partners became another route to market that we were able to really unlock additional value, and there were incentives for the channel partners. So this is over a number of years, and so this by no means happened overnight, but it's really just picking the focus, starting with the first, and then taking the successes and then growing from there. And ultimately, it was such a success. We were not only having such great ARR bookings results that I mentioned, but we're receiving great accolade from the industry, including AWS giving us awards for our partnership, and really became a foundation for what AWS has just grown from here in terms of their partner strategy.
Yeah, no, it's so interesting. I'm curious about the resources that go into like a partnership like that one with AWS. Like, kind of what does it look like? Like, is it, for instance, is there 2 people dedicated to it full time? Or is there like 5 people or 10 people working on it part time? Like, how do you sort of resource that? Or how do you know, how do you give it sufficient resources, but not like be wasteful?
Yeah, every partner scenario is slightly different. And in a growth phase company, it's for a few million in ARR. If you're growing up, the answer would be different than if you're a much larger vendor. But typically in these types of scenarios, and I'll cover the breadth of the organization, because while I'm a CMO, I also have worked across the business to build partnerships. And so I bring a lot of experience in what this takes across company, not just from a marketing point of view. So typically there's going to be some investment in product development. So there's going to be some joint product development if you really want to be truly successful. And in an example with a partnership where there's going to be joint technology integrations, add-ons, solutions that you're building. This is, of course, not always the case if you're just co-offering solutions, or but there's going to be some requirement of resource from product, depending on the depth. That could be time of existing people in your development team, engineering and product teams to commit to that, or if it's significant, it could be more. And then there's a variety of investments that you would want to make across the go-to-market organization, and that would include folks that are working on the partnership from a business point of view. So those would include things like the joint strategy, ensuring that it's operationalized. Some of the most important parts of getting a partnership to be successful is the ability to actually transact business together and realize the revenue. So the operational piece, which I've owned in prior roles, including Splunk, it's very, very critical.
Okay.
And I think, there's typically, training and resourcing from some of your field technical sellers, et cetera. And then from a marketing point of view, I would typically have, depending on the size of the partner, part of a person's role or an entire person's role, or as it grows, entire teams. So as an example, in Logic Monitor, we have one person focused on AWS at the corollary, and whereas at Splunk we had many, because it was a much bigger organization at that time working on AWS. So
Yeah.
it's not one clean answer, but if you're getting started, for those that are getting started on these partnerships, I would suggest you have somebody whose job it is every day waking up to think about partner marketing. And then based on the size of your go-to-market with partners, then you layer in whether that's one person focused on your top most strategic partner or partners, and then one that's working on the more broad set of partners. And ensuring that you've got all the corresponding support across the business is so key.
Yeah. Man, this is fascinating. I have so many questions. But one of the big ones is, like, when you look out at the field of potential partners, there's probably dozens of them, hundreds even. How do you make those initial selections, like which partnerships you should pursue just right off the bat? Is there some kind
Yeah,
of rule of thumb or some sort of formula that you have?
typically I typically start with the customer in mind. So where do we have the best suited joint potential offering or solution for the customers? Do we have other components that are relevant? For example, with the cloud hyperscalers, at Logic Monitor, we run on AWS. So that is one determinant of AWS being a great choice for us. In addition to that, we have a great ability, we're on the AWS marketplace, so we've made some investment there. So we have some of the infrastructure in place. So that would be one great example. When you have some of those customer and partner alignment, and then because we run on AWS, we're also an AWS customer, that also creates some great synergies. It can accelerate things. It can also ensure that you've got the right alignment between executives, et cetera. So oftentimes, if I'm looking, like, for example, if you're a company looking at which cloud hyperscaler to work with, that's where you would typically start, is where are we running our software?
Yeah.
And then, if you're looking at other types of partners, oftentimes if you're looking at partners that are selling or servicing it, how much of their business is focused on your segment or your industry, and your particular offering. Is there a commitment to work together? Do they have the right resources? So typically there will be like an assessment methodology, especially as you mature your partner strategy, that they looking at, the technology fit as well as the commitment on both sides for the partnership to be successful. And then with time, the results would then determine. So, and this is where partner programs come into play. When you build out those frameworks for partnering together, when you're working with a large volume of partners, to really tier the support that you're providing to your partners, and ultimately it's usually a combination of things like sales results, booking results, as well as committed resources. So there's certified and trained resources on your solution, and that there's commitment to making marketing investments and so on, that then would move you up the tier and then would qualify you for greater investment and support.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. This is blowing my mind. Couple other questions, and then I want to move. I want to look at Logic Monitor a little more specifically, but when you're choosing partners, are you generally partnering with like large, well-known companies like AWS that already have these like really robust partnership programs established? Or are you ever going to like sort of the up and coming, smaller companies and saying, hey, we could be your first partner. Like we could help you build your program out kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Uh, we've done both, and I've done both across my career, and it's actually where sometimes things get interesting. Sometimes you're the bigger partner, and that's where the partner program, your own partner program, comes into play to help you bring in partners of varying sizes, particularly in your example of maybe new firms or like growing firms. This particularly is the case with partners that are referring, selling, and servicing on software vendors and other IT vendors.
Yeah.
And then you have the experience working with larger companies, the cloud hyperscalers, the large global systems integrators, and managed service providers. And in those cases, I'll use Logic Monitor here. We're sometimes the smaller vendor. Like we partner with NTT Data as a large managed service provider, as an example. And so in that case, we really partner with them in their environment. So they're quite a large vendor and one of our really valued customers as well as partners.
Mhm.
And then we have a long tail. Logic Monitor actually does over 75% of our business through managed service providers, resellers, and other partners. And in those cases, those partners are working within our partner program for us to support them.
Mhm. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So, I'm wondering also about like, does this work primarily for product companies, or could a service company uh, leverage a similar model? Like, suppose you are a consulting firm, an accountant, lawyer, whatever the service might be.
I've worked over the years in my career with lots of services firms. Many services firms don't want to actually sell technology. Some of the global systems integrators work in this capacity. Some do sell and refer software, but many just want to provide the services to help the customer implement and or have corresponding services around it. And that's where a lot of referral programs actually grew up from, was having the ability to pay a referral fee to vendors that service providers, subject matter experts in their particular worlds, like you mentioned, legal, like that. That's actually one target market we had for in my earlier companies for referrals, because those folks would see opportunities, but that wasn't their core business. And they wanted to continue to provide services for those clients, and it was a way to bring in the right software solutions without them having to sell it.
I see.
Yeah.
So how do you approach something like that? Because presumably the law firm doesn't really have like an established
No.
program.
So it's building I call it a partner program light. It's a program that really provides like, here are the things to look for that would be an opportunity that would be right for us, and then give them a pathway to refer that deal without having to do any of the actual sales heavy lifting. So, it gets handed over to the sales team of the vendor, and then there's a smaller referral fee that gets provided to the company that found the opportunity. Smaller because they do less of the actual work to sell, but they're still getting a little nice percentage of the deal. But thank you for sending it over.
I gotcha. And then is there some lever that you would use? So suppose you had like, 50 of those types of partners, law firms, and you're getting sort of a trickle of referrals from a few of them here or there. Like, is there some lever to crank that referral volume up, or to keep it going?
Yeah. I mean, it's a marketing challenge, right? And there's different incentive programs. So one of the things I've done over my career outside of marketing is also build partner programs and referral programs and incentive model. And so there's a number of different ways that in partner programs you would reward for that type of work, that you would want to get a little extra oomph. So there's different rebate programs that potentially would be put into place. So if you were had a partner that was maybe bringing you only a couple of referrals and you wanted to see more, you could set some targets to say if you reach 5 or 10, you get an extra kicker, a rebate at the end of the year where you get an additional percentage of points. And that's typically going to be incentivizing the business owner. So the other mechanism in a lot of partner programs are similar to what you would see in sales incentive programs, which are SIFs. So providing smaller incentives to the salesperson themselves to increase them for more. So then in those ones, you would tend to see, $500,000, incentives, sometimes gift cards or promotional trips or things like that can be earned or won based on activity. So those are kind of two levers in the majority of partner programs. So that's, can be leveraged in referral programs, but also are often part of the more core partner program offering for the servicing and selling partners.
Wow, that's really smart. I love that. Okay, cool. So to summarize, let's leave folks with like a few kind of pieces of advice to summarize. And I'll start and you fill in the blanks. But it sounds like in terms of a partnership, choosing the right partners is important, of course. And it sounds like you sort of want to find the center of the Venn diagram between what you're really good at and what your customers also need, right? Always start with the customer, but if you yourself are also a customer of that partner, and if your platform, for instance, runs particularly well on their stack, then, that's a bonus. So choosing well from the customer's perspective. And then it sounds like in general, you're putting a lot of resources toward those partnerships and really almost treating them like a customer. It sounds like you're really treating your partners like you would like a customer.
Yeah. And if I could add on there, in fact, I, over the course of my career, absolutely treated partners like the customer, including many programs that emulate what you would see in customer programs. So, partner advisory boards, alongside your customer advisory board, partners and surveys in addition to your customer satisfaction survey. So really having a partner listening and loyalty practice as part of what you do in order to ensure you've got that voice of the partner included.
Yeah. And then we talked about committing resources from your side, but also you mentioned a couple times making sure to secure commitments from the partner side, which is really interesting. You mentioned one time, like really sort of monetizing and maximizing the revenue from partnerships was one of your specialties. If you were to give a piece of advice there, like for somebody who has a partnership and it's, kind of yielding some fruit, like, or any techniques to enhance that monetization?
Yeah, I typically recommend to start with the joint solution that you have customer demand for, and then create a joint program campaign that you can execute upon, that you can track the result against, so that you can show the traction and then use that success to go negotiate for more dollars, investment, growth, continue to layer on from there. For example, I oftentimes will start with a horizontal campaign and then build the verticalized approach on top of it. So use the first success to build it and build from there. So track it. Tracking is particularly essential in the partner marketing model because it can be a little bit more labor intensive to track because you're working across two companies with two different systems. So even if that means doing the tracking a little bit manually when you're getting off the ground, it is worth it because that's going to be able to help you make a case for continued growth and investment in your partners.
Love that. Love it. All right, folks. Well, there you have it. Partnership advice from the one and only Brooke Cunningham, who had made a name for herself and really a career for herself on the backs of this. So thank you so much, Brooke. For everybody listening, if you liked it, why not drop us a like or share this with a friend? We always appreciate that. But don't leave yet because I want to talk about Logic Monitor. I know that you're fairly new there. So all right.
in, and I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, yeah. Tell me about it. Like, I mean, because you could have had your pick of the litter, and it seems and just been anywhere. But why did you choose them?
Oh, there were so many reasons that I chose Logic Monitor, and first and foremost, Logic Monitor provide hybrid observability powered by AI. So we're really trying to equip the CIOs and the larger C-suite to measure, prove the ROI of your technology investments, and we are really providing observability into networks, infrastructure, devices, etc. And I came from this space. We were talking about Splunk earlier. Splunk also was in the observability space. So I knew Logic Monitor from my earlier time. And I know that Logic Monitor has phenomenal products. We have really, really strong customer reviews, G2 and Trust Radius scores. And when I got the call about Logic Monitor, I was also very excited to learn the depth of their partner go-to-market. So in addition to knowing this amazing product, I also learned, I knew they had that Logic Monitor worked with partners. But I didn't know that Logic Monitor does over 75% of our business with and through partners. So this was a major differentiator for me, given that my background is in partnering.
Yeah.
And was my pathway to being CMO. So that just got me super excited. And the customers that Logic Monitor is powering are just amazing. We had just huge names. So we have customers in healthcare. We've got customers in food services, McDonald's, Chipotle. We've got amazing sporting and gaming brands like Topgolf and the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, just really cool, really amazing brands. So that got me really excited. There was just so much customer love for Logic Monitor and some amazing brands that we could really be working with and showcasing. And then when I started to get to know the team and the leadership team, I was blown away because one of the other things about Logic Monitor that folks might not know is it's a female-dominated executive team. So our CEO, Christina Kosmowski, she has an amazing background. She's been CEO for some years, and she's just built an amazing leadership team cross-functionally. And we also happen to be majority female. So that was pretty kick-ass, I have to say.
I mean, you don't see that. Like,
I've never seen it.
That's wild.
Actually in tech.
Well,
So that was really a difference maker. And, all the things I shared, Logic Monitor is this amazing growing brand with a huge differentiator for observability because of this hybrid observability piece. So we have competitors that only service on-premises environment, and we have competitors that only service cloud environment. The reality is so many enterprises, and we do service SMB, mid-market, and large enterprises. So many companies have mixed environment. They have on-premises and cloud, and we can service all of that. So that really sets us apart. And then secondly, Logic Monitor has been investing in AI for a long time, and we have started working on AI with machine learning many years ago, and that's powered by AI, part of our tagline. And then just this week, we unveiled the next level of our AI offering. So we now have Gen AI built into our observability platform. So we are just now head and shoulders above the competition as it relates to our AI offering. So I was super pumped about the opportunity to elevate the brand of Logic Monitor, showcase all the great things that we're doing, these amazing customers and the partners that are supporting us and selling with us.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Interesting about Gen AI. So like, I can totally see the use case for like applying AI to analysis and predictions and things, but what would a user inside of the platform be generating?
Yeah, I'll tell you a little bit about it. So we just launched it this week. We're calling it Edwin AI because we're sort of personifying that this is your new supercharged Gen AI powered IT ops teammate. So trying to demonstrate that this is going to provide more efficiency to the IT ops team. We heard so much from our customers that they are being asked to leverage more AI, that they can't access as much IT operations talent as they need. And this is really going to be in the sweet spot of helping support them in that. And part of what we announced with our Edwin AI capability is that it's going to provide the single pane of glass. It provides a single pane of glass where it's bringing alerts and events from Logic Monitor, as well as any other observability tool that may be in the tech stack. And additionally, alerts and events coming from IT service management tools. So, ServiceNow, VMware, those types of tools. And it's providing it in a single pane with a Copilot functionality. So it's going to be summarizing it, bringing it together in that single pane of glass, and making recommendations in natural language. For those that are familiar with the ICOps function and the space, it's very detailed, and this ability to provide it in natural language is a huge differentiator. And it's also going to help reduce alert noise, which is a huge pain point for our practitioners, our IT ops guys. And it's really going to help them just reduce the noise. One of the meaningful headlines that we had that we went in our announcement this week is that the Edwin AI is going to be compressing up to 95% of the alert, which is a huge benefit. And it's making recommendations on root cause and action. So, hey, we saw this alert, we summarized it, and we think this is the root cause and this is the action that you take, instead of the IT ops person having to go investigate and look for it, and it can get them pinpointed on the actual root cause. So it's very...
Oh, that's huge. So it sounds like it really separates the signal from the noise.
Bingo.
And provides, detailed punch lists, basically. I'm still waiting for, I'm surprised that hasn't happened in web analytics. Like, when you go into your Google ads or your analytics or whatever, it's just all this data everywhere. And Google sort of gives you like insights, but they're usually way like unusual. It's like Kansas, traffic from Kansas is up. It's like, okay, that doesn't matter to me. Okay. But that's how I'm thinking of it. And tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm thinking of it almost like, hey, here's your Google Analytics or your Google Ads. There's all these alerts, all this data everywhere, but it just gives you this nice, clean little summary of like, hey, here's what you actually need to pay attention to.
Yeah, where you should go investigate. This is what, based on the correlation. So it's intelligent insights based on the correlation of all these large volume of alerts and events. We're correlating that this is likely the root cause and this is our recommended action to take. So it just really shortcut right to the solution. And MTTR, or mean time to resolution, is a major metric in our space, and it's having huge positive impacts on reducing MTTR.
Wow. Cool. Well, it's super exciting. I mean, I'm excited to hear more about just how it's working and the feedback that you're getting from users.
Yeah, actually, we spoke to over 100 customers as we were getting ready for the launch, and we've heard really, really good feedback. We have some customers that are already using it because this is an advancement of some capabilities that we already had, plus some additional innovation that we brought in, and we've heard customers working with us to test it. And we're just seeing a huge enthusiasm. I've been spending time with customers, and some of the things I'm hearing them say is, we had some customer user events that I participated in, and it was IT ops practitioners that were there, and they were saying, my manager asked me to come to this event today and come back with recommendations of how I can use AI to become more efficient because we can't add any more staff to our team this year. So we're hearing really salient, real feedback about customers wanting to adopt this really, really quickly. There's just this ongoing concern about continuing to grow the skill sets of the IT team and not having the dollars to hire more people in the current job market. So this really has meaningful value.
Yeah, no, I can totally see that. And they would cost more probably to implement it, or does it just include it with every
it is something that is for our existing customers and upgrading, and for customers that are new to us, that would be a part of what that they would evaluate as part of their initial.
Yeah. But it would pay for itself so quickly. Really. I'm sure you
Absolutely.
make that case really easily. It's like, hey, would you rather use Edwin or hire like 7 more people?
Exactly. And, it also, I mean, this is the big discussion about AI. And I know as marketers, it's a very, very topical discussion, since we're all adopting AI as marketers. And I'm, really trying to lead from the front with that with my team, which is, how do we make people more efficient so that those of us, can spend, professionals can spend more time on the more high value work, instead of the things that are, the challenging, administrative things. And this is providing exactly that value.
Ooh, now we're getting to the best part right here with the AI.
Oh, yeah.
I'm cognizant of your time. I know we've got maybe 10 or so minutes left. But let's talk about the rest of your marketing stack a little bit, just outside of the partnership thing. And I would love to start with just like some sense of how you guys are using AI now, or maybe even how you plan to start using it.
Yeah, it's something I've been really leaning into adopting with my marketing teams, and so that's not here at Logic Monitor, but at the journey I started even previous in my last BMO role. And I'm really encouraging everyone to have a growth mindset around AI, and I acknowledge that different individuals have maybe a differing level of comfort, experience, or testing that they've done with AI. So I actually did a talk about this in our recent Elevate conference, which is our customer and partner conference, and it's recorded. So if anybody's interested, you can go check that out on logicmonitor.com. But I really talked about, the path to kind of get marketing teams up and running with AI. There's some great, very tangible examples where you can get going pretty quickly. And specifically, I like to use, and you can make your pick on the tools. There's a lot of great MarTech vendors out there that have offerings that do what I'm about to describe, or you can become a prompt and engineer extraordinaire in ChatGPT and get more or less the same output. But is to really take an example of like a long form marketing app, that like an ebook, I'll use that example, and leverage AI to help you very quickly rev all of the pieces for a marketing campaign. So if you took a long form piece of content, you could prompt ChatGPT or leverage some of the great Gen AI tools built for marketers to help you spit out a number of different things, like shorter form summaries, emails for your customers, prospects, and partners, social media posts, blog posts, etc., and very quickly give you like the full bill of material that you might want for a variety of campaign assets. Of course, the quality control always comes into play. And so that's where we're always going to need high value human involvement.
Yeah.
And often have some good laugh about things that get spit out, and you want to ensure that you're maintaining your brand voice, your authenticity, which is so important to make sure that your audience is still, your ICP and your personas are still going to engage with you in a meaningful way. But it can really help you accelerate, particularly, we're all as marketers faced with the same thing I was talking about with the IT ops team. We're being asked to do more with less, and our teams are not growing. We know we've had job market challenges where a lot of companies have had to let team members go, and this is a way to improve your efficiency as a marketing team.
Yeah. How many people do you have on your team now, approximately?
We're about 30 people in marketing.
Wow, it's a pretty good sized
Yeah.
team. But I love that use case that you just described.
Yeah.
It's almost like a campaign in a box, like upload this long form asset and then just have it spit so many things out.
Yeah.
You could build a killer custom GPT with that. I don't know if you
Yeah.
guys are playing with those at all, but it's, basically has special instructions at the system level. So you could be like, hey, here's the instructions. Like when I say make a campaign, you're going to ask me for my asset. And then once I give it to you, you're going to make me an email. And here's how I like my emails. And you're going to make me a social post. And here's how I like my social posts. That would be
And
killer.
the rocket ship emojis. That's one of the things that we joke about, that you can typically tell that ChatGPT wrote your social media post because there's always a rocket ship emoji.
Maximum one emoji per 100 words.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a big fan of emojis, but I want to use them effectively.
Yeah, they definitely overkill on the emojis for sure.
Absolutely. But to me, this is the fun of marketing. I mean, we get to lead from the front, and I feel part of our role, and my role as chief marketing officer, is to really demonstrate creativity, innovation, and leaning into new technologies and approaches, because that is what marketing has to be. We need to be willing to take risks and try new things. And this is a great opportunity for us to lead the rest of the company as CMOs, by being the stewards and examples of leveraging AI.
Yeah, 100%. What else is on your agenda for the rest of the year? Like if I'm in your all hands meeting with you, like what are, the top 5 things that you guys are working on?
Oh, there's so much to do. I mean, as I'm only a month in, as you can imagine, I have just a large swath of things that I'm looking forward to accomplishing. But one of the primary things, I want to keep telling our customer stories and really bringing them to life. So that's a big focus area for me, as well as elevating our thought leadership. As I mentioned, Logic Monitor has all these amazing values that we're providing to customers. We have these amazing differentiators, and we're like the greatest brand that a lot of folks have never heard of. So that's a great CMO challenge, to really elevate our thought leadership, really build out. We've got amazing, I mentioned what a great executive team with so much experience. So really leveraging our spokespeople as thought leaders in that. We also have, as I mentioned, the customer, to tie the customers and the thought leadership together. We have so many amazing cohorts of customers, and we have the opportunity to really do some thought leadership for the different industries, in relation to what we're providing around observability. And so, that's an opportunity that I look forward to also triangulating, is, for example, we're supporting so many major health systems, and we have amazing alignments around providing observability into the systems that hospitals are leveraging, like Epic, and these amazing example health systems that use Logic Monitor. So I look forward to really becoming relevant to our ICP and our personas in the specific vertical cases, leveraging great customer stories and great thought leadership.
That's brilliant. I just got an idea for you. You might already be doing it, but could you imagine if Edwin sat on top, like at the master instance, and had access anonymously, of course, to like all of the data flowing through? And you could ask it stuff like, hey, tell me on average, like the hospital using Epic, what is their response rate, or, whatever it was. And you could like trend it, like the average response rate is up or down this month or quarter.
I love it. See, Edwin is your supercharged IT ops teammate.
Yeah.
We need Edwin.
It's like, what are the top 10 recommendations of this month for hospitals?
Yeah, love that.
That's well,
We'll have to feed it into the engineering and product team.
that might be like a horrible idea. I don't, um, cool. Well, this has been absolutely amazing, Brooke. I learned a lot. I'm coming away inspired. I want to hit you up after this for a separate call, because we could use some help with our partnership
Oh, great.
program. I would love that. I'd love to have you back if you'll come. For everybody
Absolutely.
listening, if you enjoyed this, or if you learned anything or took some inspiration from it, drop us a like, a comment, or share this with a friend. We always, always appreciate that. Brooke, for folks listening that would like to learn more about you or Logic Monitor, where would you direct them?
You can check us out at logicmonitor.com.
Brilliant. Easy enough.
Mhm.
I would, well, I'm going to ask the producers also to grab that training that you did at the
Yeah, great.
event about like activating AI within a marketing team. I'm sure
Yeah.
the listeners would love to check.
Cool. Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely. We promote Logic Monitor's LinkedIn too. We love any extra followers.
Yep. I'll absolutely keep that or include that in the show notes as well.
Great.
Cool. Well, stick on the line 1 second, Brooke. We're going to wrap up. But for everybody else, that was another exciting episode of Revenue-Driven CMO, and we'll see you next time. And that's a wrap. Thanks for joining us here today. For show notes and other episodes, visit us at revenue-drivencmo.com. That's revenue-drivencmo.com. And hey, exclusive for listeners of this podcast, Web Mechanics will do 10 to 20 hours of work for you for free. Literally no sales calls, no BS. Just give them a problem and they will put a team to work for you for free for 10 to 20 hours. Even if you're already a client, if you're struggling with demand gen, lead gen, SEO, SEM, Google ads, LinkedIn ads, conversion optimization, if you can't get Facebook or Meta ads to work for the life of you, or you can't figure out attribution, Web Mechanics will take a good hard look at whatever problem you give them, whatever programs you put in front of them, and they will give you an objective, informed opinion, plus some advice from 10 to 20 hours of senior level attention. And that's just because you're a listener of this podcast. So I would suggest take them up on this offer. It's ridiculous. Go to revenue-drivencmo.com/free, fill out the 2-minute form, and you will not regret it. Literally zero downside, unlimited potential for growth. So do yourself a favor, revenue-drivencmo.com/free, no hyphens, no punctuations. You will be happy about that decision.